Okay, imagine trying to find a friend's contact info, but instead of one simple address book, you've got dozens of them, and they're all different. Now, what if that's how an entire country tried to keep track of its own government? It's a bit chaotic, right? Well, today we're diving into a very special kind of address book, Sweden's official guide to itself. And we're going to see how one simple, powerful idea brought some serious order to all that chaos. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the problem of the missing address book and see how Sweden forged a master key to fix it. Then we'll check out the guest list, who gets in and who's left out. We'll even meet the official librarian, see why this book is meant for everybody, and wrap up with a really important question for today. Is this incredible book now kind of stuck on an island? So let's start with that missing address book. Before you can run a country well, you kind of have to know what all the parts are. This first bit is all about the challenge that any modern government faces. How do you keep one single, official, trustworthy list of all your own agencies and departments? It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But getting the answer right is a huge deal. I mean, think about it. For you and me trying to find a government service, or for businesses trying to follow the rules, or even for the government itself, just knowing who's who is absolutely essential. It's the bedrock of a functioning democracy. Well, before 2008, that was pretty much the situation in Sweden. Without one unified legally required directory, it was like an administrative fog had rolled in. It was just inefficient, it wasn't transparent, and it made holding anyone accountable really, really tough. You just couldn't be 100% sure you had the complete official picture of the state's own structure. So, how do you fix a problem like that? How do you cut through the fog? Well, you forge a master key. And in Sweden's case, that key was a very specific law with a pretty technical name, SFS 2007-755. Before we go further, what on earth does SFS even mean? Well, it's short for the Swedish Code of Statutes. The best way to think about it is like the government's official journal. Anytime a new law or a new rule gets made, it gets published here, in order with its own unique number. It is the official record of Swedish law. And this right here, this is basically the birth certificate for the state's address book. You can see it was issued in October 2007, and then it went into effect on January 1st, 2008. And that timing is no accident. Starting on the very first day of a brand new year, that was a powerful statement. It was a clean break from the disorganized past. Okay, so you've got this new address book. Now you have to make a really important call. Who actually gets a page? Because as you're about to see, not every single organization connected to the government made the final cut. This is the key question, isn't it? This defines what the register is for. The government had to be super precise about who was in and who was out, otherwise they'd just end up with the same confusion all over again. And you can really see the logic here. The register includes the permanent machinery of the state. We're talking courts, big public utilities, administrative agencies, and embassies. But, and this is important, it deliberately leaves out temporary groups, like special committees that get set up to investigate one thing and then just disappear. It also excludes state-owned companies because legally they're businesses, not government agencies. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, that single biggest group, the general administrative agencies, there are 249 of them. These aren't just names on a list. These are the core engines of government. We're talking about the National Tax Agency, the Transportation Authority, the Board of Health. These are the organizations doing the day-to-day work for the Swedish people. Now, every great library needs a great librarian, right? Someone to keep all the books in order, make sure everything is current, and help people find what they're looking for. Well, the state's address book is no different. The law gives this massive responsibility to one single, neutral organization, Statistics Sweden, or SCB. And that's a smart move. By putting the country's official statistics agency in charge, the government made sure the register would be managed with rigor and impartiality, far away from the politics of other ministries. So SCB's job really boils down to three key things. First, they're the caretakers, making sure the address book stays accurate. Second, they're the identity issuers. They give every single agency a unique ID number. Think of it like a social security number, but for a government department. And third, they're the guardians of public access, making sure this vital info is open to all of us. And that brings us to something that is just fundamental to this whole project. This address book was never, ever meant to be some secret government document. From day one, it was designed to be a tool for everyone. So what information do you actually get? The law spells it out. You get the official name, that unique ID number, physical and mailing addresses, and all the contact details you'd expect. And yep, you're seeing that right, a fax number. A little time capsule from 2007 for you. But the point was to create a consistent, complete contact card for every single part of the government. And this, right here, gets to the heart of its mission. The law doesn't just suggest this, it mandates it. The entire register has to be available to the public, for free, on a website. That isn't just a nice little feature. It's a legal requirement that gets at a core principle of Swedish governance. Transparency isn't a privilege, it's a right.
So this brings us to our final and really critical section. Having a perfect public address book. That's a huge win. But in the 21st century, is a perfect list really enough? Or is it like a beautiful, pristine book sitting all by itself on a deserted data island? And that's exactly the question people are asking today. In some feedback to the government, an analyst named Magnus Selgio put it perfectly. He said the goal shouldn't just be to have accurate registers, but to have interoperable ones. In other words, databases that can actually talk to each other. And that's the modern critique in a nutshell. For all its accuracy, the General Agency Register can act like a data silo. It's a perfect list, but it wasn't built to automatically connect to all the other important government databases, the ones that track budgets, employees, or performance. That lack of connection, that lack of interoperability, creates a digital wall, and it makes getting a complete, real-time picture of government performance pretty difficult. Which leaves us with this big, final question for our hyper-connected age. What's the real value of a perfect directory if it can't connect to anything else? I mean, what if you want to know which agencies are over budget, or which ones have the highest citizen satisfaction scores? In a siloed system, you can find the agency's address, no problem. But connecting that address to that other vital data is a ton of manual work. Sweden solved the 20th century problem of the missing address book, but its next big challenge is connecting that book to the rest of the 21st century digital world.